Hi there, my name is Yona Wisdom. I am 25 years old and I'm originally from Leeds in England, but I currently live up in Edinburgh in Scotland. I'm an athlete and my sport is diving. Specifically, I compete in a 3 meter springboard event. I represent my father's nation of Jamaica, as you can see by my shirt and also the shirt up on the wall, signed by Usain Bolt. I've competed at some of the biggest events in the world, including World Cups and World Championships, Commonwealth Games, Pan American Games. But the peak so far for me was when I became the first ever Jamaican male diver at the 2016 Rio Olympic Games. I've been in the sport for nearly 17 years now, and I'm currently aiming for my second Olympic Games, which hopefully will take place in Tokyo later this year. Since 2013, I've worked as a diving coach alongside my own training, as I believe that it's important for me to give back to the sport, which has given me so much, and to help the next generation of divers on their journey. Away from diving, I also graduated from Leeds Beckett University in 2016 with a degree in sport and exercise science. And I'm currently studying a postgraduate certificate in international sports management with the University of London. My typical day has changed so many times over the past year due to the pandemic, the lockdowns, and the constantly changing circumstances, like everyone. But when things are normal, I'm pretty busy. I train twice a week. I train twice a day, 6 days a week. And currently, because the pool is closed to the public, my morning session is from 9 till 11 a.m. and then my afternoon session is from 2 till 4:30 p.m. Due to the lockdown restrictions, I'm unable to coach as I normally would, so I've had to get used to leading Zoom sessions from home for my group of divers, but I would normally coach 4 days a week for 2 to 2.5 hours in the evening after I finish training, plus a little bit of admin time here and there to plan their sessions. Around all of that, I also have to find a bit of time to study every day. Fortunately, it doesn't require too much, but I try to dedicate at least an hour a day to my course, sometimes during lunch and sometimes in the evening. And then at the weekend, I'll spend a little bit more time working on it. To sum up, I really don't have a typical day at the moment. The only constant is my training, but I try to stay as busy as possible, doing productive and positive things during the other hours that I'm awake. I have been on an incredible journey throughout my diving career. My height is 6'2", so I'm extremely tall for a diver, unofficially the tallest diver in the world. But I have surpassed the expectations of almost everyone who knows me, including some of my old coaches. At the moment, I'm doing dives that they never imagined possible for me when I went through my growth spurt. My career so far has been highlighted by my silver medal at the 2016 World Cup in Rio. I had a really good couple of days. Firstly, on February 22nd, I achieved my life goal and secured my Olympic spot by finishing in the top 18, which also meant I had qualified for the semi-final, my first ever at a world event. Then, on the morning of the 23rd, in the semi-final, I beat my personal best by 4 points, and I qualified for the final later on that day. In the final, I had a near perfect performance, destroying the personal best that I had just set that morning, and ended up on the podium. Many of my friends and even people I don't know in the diving world still remember that final performance and tell me how incredible it was to watch. I generally consider my daily life as my job, and all the different things that I do each day are just different tasks contributing to the overall job of trying to become the best version of myself possible. So the worst part of my job from the point of view of a diving coach is when one of my divers wipes out or hurts himself on a new or difficult dive. This is mainly the worst because I've experienced the pain so many times before, and I really know how much a wipeout can hurt. I actually had a bad one a couple of weeks ago where my whole body literally went tingly when I was under the water. But I've been personally like good at taking the hit and having a laugh about it and then moving on. But sometimes it really affects other divers, not only physically but also mentally. And as a coach, I feel very responsible, even though the diver is in control and there's nothing that I can do. The best part of my job, from the point of view as a diver, is when I've gone through a really tough period of training, which results in a really good performance at a competition. As a diver, I'm constantly chasing the perfect dive, which is so hard to achieve. And also, competitions are the only real time where we get to see whether our efforts in training have been worthwhile. When it all comes together in training, you do a good dive or a good practice list. In competition, we do a list of 6 dives. That's a great feeling, but if it all comes together under the pressure of a competition, there is nothing that matches the happiness that I feel. Even doing one dive well in competition is so rewarding. In the way that I live my life, I believe that the most important attribute required is discipline. I have to ensure that I'm doing everything I need to be the best diver that I can be. And that means eating well, sleeping properly, recovering from training effectively, as well as being able to give my all at training every day and never letting outside influences disrupt my focus at the pool. I also have to be disciplined with my studies. I've always been taught that education is important by my parents, and I still believe that now. So I have to make sure that I stay on top of my work and I don't fall behind, so I don't have to pull any all-nighters in order to get a piece of coursework done, because if I do that, then it wouldn't help me in my training. Finally, I have to be very disciplined as a coach to make sure that I have good individual session plans that fit a long-term plan for every single diver that I look after, in order to help them become the best that they can be. Another key attribute, I think, is work ethic. But I think that having good discipline means I don't necessarily always have to work really hard and exhaust myself. I just have to make sure that I'm working smartly and efficiently, of course, without taking shortcuts. Finally, a key skill is organization. Something I've not always been very good at, but it's definitely something that I'm working on, because it helps to know what you're doing when and where, so you don't get caught with a double booking, for example, or end up having to rush something, which might lead to mistakes being made. My advice for you would simply be to find out where your passion lies. I believe that work doesn't feel like work if you're passionate about it, and the more passionate you are, the more likely it is that you will do a really great job and be happy at the same time. Happiness is something that I value very highly in life. The best way to find your passion, in my opinion, is by tasting and experiencing different things. I recognize that I was personally very lucky to find diving, or really that diving found its way into my life, just because the City of Leeds Diving Club decided to visit my school whilst I was there as part of their talent identification testing program. And I just happened to be at the right age of 9 years old, and I happened to love it from the start. But for you, volunteering in different roles, even if it's something you have zero experience in, you can still learn from the people around you, and they'll help you to develop and progress. If money is your motivation, then it'll take some serious humility to volunteer, because obviously that's unpaid. But when you find the perfect thing for you, you will definitely reap the benefits of it later in life in the future. I'm currently in a very similar place, because unfortunately I can't dive forever. So at some point I'm going to have to find out where my passion lies outside of diving, but I'm willing to take the time to find it, because I believe that it will give me more success and more happiness in later life.